Hi friends, welcome back. So in this video, we will discuss about some of the important challenges which we normally face during manual and automation testing. So we will see what are those real challenges in real manual and automation testing. The first challenge is the expectation of 100% coverage. Normally, while performing testing, everybody expects 100% test coverage. And achieving 100% test coverage is not very easy because we cannot test each and every aspects in the application, each and every part of the application. That is a very big challenge, and that is not practical or that is not real as well. But the expectation from the stakeholders or management, they expect we should cover each and every part of the application, each and every stuff in the application. And by looking into the different combinations of test, that is really not possible with the given minimal availability of resources in software testing area or any other limitation. Due to that, you may not be able to achieve 100% test coverage. And the second big challenge in manual and automation testing is every testing team should have a clear clarity on what is the company's goal or company's business policies with respect to the manual and automation testing. Without knowing these things very clearly, it is very difficult to achieve very important goals in manual and automation testing. And the third one is the test environment challenges. Again, this is the very important and very crucial challenges normally face in every manual or automation testing. Environment is very crucial. Again, environment can come from the different operating systems, again different browser combination, different automation tools. There are various challenges which we face normally in the test environment, whether it could be on-prem test environment or cloud test environment. There are various challenges normally we face whenever we are setting up the test environment and testing on top of it. And even after we log the defect, sometimes the test environments behaves abruptly differently. Because of that, even reproducing the defects also becomes very challenges in certain times. These are the third important challenge. And the fourth important challenge with the testing automation is the communication gap with the stakeholders. This is very important. If we are not having a good communication track with the stakeholders, lot of information which should come from the stakeholders may not reach to the testing team, and because lack of communication or lack of information, it may lead to a lot of disasters in software testing area. It should mitigate this communication gap by enabling a lot of communication channels to work with the stakeholders to get as much as inputs from the various stakeholders so that we can plan better. Next important challenge is lack of coordination with the development team. This is again, if we do not have a right rapport with the development team, or we do not set up the regular connect with the development team, if we are not working closely with the development team, definitely the outcome from the manual testing or automation testing team may not be very much great, because we have to work with the development team day in, day out, again in terms of requirement gathering or understanding the requirements, or reproducing the defects, or helping the developers to reproduce the defects, or whatever, right? We should have a good coordination should happen with the development team in order to get the great results from the manual and automation team. Next one is not having enough regression testing. This is again very important when we are releasing the product on release every 3 months, every 2 months. If you keep releasing the releases, the maintaining or having the regression testing suite is itself a big challenge. Unless if you do not build up good adequate regression testing, we might face lot of challenges, both manual and automation testing perspective. And the next challenge is with the given challenges in hiring the skilled resources in the testing team, because testing also requires specialized skills in certain places, and testing also requires certain skills should be there with every resources. And getting that kind of or fulfilling that kind of skilled resources hiring itself a big challenge, because there are certain times there are particular area or particular domain knowledge testing resources availability is also it's a very big challenge. Even automation resources also on a particular tool or particular expertise in bringing automation, again getting that kind of resources also not varies in the market. The next challenge would be normally the testing activity we normally provide once the development is done. Most of the time developer takes more time, and testing team normally we get very less time for completing our testing activities. Because of that, we might compromise a lot of quality issues as well. And because of that, we should keep pushing the development team. We have to keep informing stakeholders so that we get enough time for testing, so that we can really perform the core activities of manual and automation testing. The next one is prioritizing of the requirement, especially what to cover, what not to cover, which is having a high priority, which is not having high priority, or which is having low priority, also required to be clearly defined in your requirements or user stories. Unless if it is not very clearly defined, our testing energy or testing focus, we cannot keep putting in every area, or 100% test coverage is not possible. Because of that, we may find a lot of quality issues or quality challenges. Even as a testing team, we should go and talk to the development team, we should go on to the stakeholders, we have to talk to them and get the priority of every requirement, so that we can base our testing activities also based on the priority of the requirements or priority of the user stories. The next one is the clarity of the requirements or user stories. This is again a very important which we normally face in any manual or automation testing activities. If we do not have a right clarity on the requirements, then we cannot design our test cases properly, or we cannot write down the test scenarios properly. And if we do not have right test cases or test scenarios, we can expect not good quality from the testing team. Again, this is also a bigger challenge we have to manage in the beginning itself, to get as much as information from product owners, business analysts, or development team, so that we get enough requirements, we get enough clarity on the requirements, so that we can write the right test cases or test scenarios. And the next challenge would be coming from automation testing tools. Especially we face a lot of challenges in procuring the automation tools, because it involves a lot of communication across various vendors, and we have to perform a lot of activity while procuring the automation tool. That itself a big challenge. Again, negotiation with the vendors to get the right deals for the purchasing the tools, or even after purchasing we should train the resources, again whether those testing tools gives adequate coverage or not. And we may find a lot of issues with these automation tools as well, whether do we really get the right support from that automation team or vendor, even how fast they're able to resolve those queries or your issues. That itself a big challenge. We have to monitor all these things effectively to get the tool working for your team. Again, next one is this is very crucial, especially if you do not have a right clarity on your exit criteria is not well defined. One is entry criteria and another one is exit criteria. If you are not deciding, or if you are not defining the exact exit criteria for your testing, especially this will be done in the beginning itself when we are whenever we are drafting a test plan. If we are not well defined when we wanted to stop the testing, or what are the various criteria when we should stop testing, if you are not defining all those stuff, then it becomes very challenges for testing team. Next challenges would be overloading the testing resources. Sometimes what happens, we may have 3 or 4 testers. The activities will be bombarded for these testing resources from the various different channels. It could be manual, or it could be automation, or it could be from maintenance, or even sometime what happens, these resources has to work across the different projects as well. Again, if you do not have a testing resources with enough capacity with them, if you keep overloading, if you keep adding more tasks to these testing resources, they will overburden, and we cannot expect the high quality from these testing resources. And the next one is the lack of reusability concepts in while developing our test cases. We should keep in mind, we should be keep reusability concepts also in mind, so that we can define modularized way of writing the test cases, so that we can use some of the test cases more often, and we need not write every test for every test cases. And the next challenges is not focusing on finding the critical defects or issues. Most of the time what happens, testing team would more focus on identifying some issues, because they wanted to identify as much as issues possible. Our testing team morely concentrates on certain UI issues or some very trivial issues, which is not very important. We should focus on the high critical requirements and high critical issues or defects. We should find out as early as possible. Even if you are not focusing on finding these critical issues or defects, then that becomes very challenges for the testing team in the later stages. And the next one is the attrition with the testing resources. With the given lot of boom in the market, certain time very good resources might leave the organization because of various reasons, and sometimes you are not able to hold back those resources. Again, we need to find a new resources, we should train them, and we should keep testing activity keep running, even the resources are keep going and coming. That itself a big challenge. And we should define well-defined training plan and well-defined exit process for every resources, so that we can manage these well-planned attritions. And the next one is the handling the change request. Sometime with these days agile or DevOps strategy, you can somehow manage the changes which is happening in the requirement. But if you are following the standard SDLC procedures like waterfall model, the handling this change request becomes very difficult. And most of the time when the requirements keep changing, then appropriately if the same information is not passed to the manual or automation team, then definitely we cannot update your test cases or test scenarios. That would give a lot of challenges in the later stages whenever we are testing the application, where we find more of our test cases are redundant, our test cases are not tuned to the recent changes. And the last one is lack of documentation, and this is also very crucial. Whenever we wanted to design or whenever we wanted to develop our test designs or test cases, we should have enough documentation also. It should be in place. If we do not have enough documentation, then definitely we cannot write a detailed or good test cases or test scenarios for your application. So these are some of the key important testing challenges which we normally face while performing any kind of testing in that matter.